Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. Scituate Planning Board. I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Aye.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis? Aye. Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, for public participation via remote access only, audio participation, 425-436-6308. Long-distance charges could apply, 425-436-6338, 425-436-6300, access code 538-960, hashtag. For video participation, https://join.freeconferencecall.com/Scituate1. Follow the instructions on your computer screen to join the meeting. Your computer microphone will be muted. You will be allowed to ask questions or comment during the moderated Q&A period following the audio directions. Okay, we now have, at 7 o'clock, a site plan administrative review and special permit for density and tandem parking in the Village Center and Neighborhood District, Greenbush Village Center Sub-District, Greenbush Gateway District, 18 Ford Place. And the materials can be found under the Planning Board webpage under current applications on the Town of Scituate website. Please follow the link below for access. Okay, whatever. All right, gentlemen, please introduce yourselves and make your presentation.
Thank you. For the applicant, Don McGill, who is with me, my name is Walter Sullivan, an attorney in Norwell. I'm pinch hitting for Bob Galvin. And also behind me is Paul Seberg from Grady Consulting, who's the project engineer. This is a site plan special permit. Property is located at 18 Ford Place. It is a 10,000 square foot lot. As indicated in the public notice, it's in the Village Center and Neighborhood District, more specifically in the sub-district, Greenbush Driftway Gateway. It's currently a single-family dwelling with a detached garage, which will be raised. The applicant proposes to construct a multifamily property which will contain 5 units, 2 on the first floor and then 3 above. 2 of the ones on the second floor will be directly over the lower units, and the third unit will be over a porch garage area. This is a multifamily residential district by right. The property has 2, as proposed, has 2 access driveways, one off of Ford Place, one off of McDonald Terrace. For the record, we are exploring, by recommendation, the possibility of trying to obtain a shared common driveway with an abutting property. We do not have that right now, so that's not part of this proposal, but we are making efforts in that regard. It will be connected to municipal water and sewer. There is capacity. We have confirmed that with respect to committees. Also, just for the record, the applicant and his team will be meeting with the Design Review Committee on the 27th, which is Monday. This project has already been peer reviewed by Mr. Cheshire. Grady Consulting has responded to his comments, and Paul Seberg will address that after me. Going through the criterion of Section 580 of the bylaw, we need a special permit for density, and we have also been speaking with Concom with respect to making a donation for public benefit. But under 580.1, we are in compliance because, as I indicated, multifamily use is allowed. 580.2 really doesn't seem to apply to this project. Notwithstanding that, we are providing landscape buffer. So there will be buffer from the parking. The building type is consistent with what's proposed in 580.3 under Table 1. And then we are in compliance with density and bulk standards under 580.4. We are allowed 12 units per acre. This is a 10,000 square foot lot, so we're proposing 5 units, which is allowable by special permit. As indicated, we believe we're providing significant improvements to the area. We are going to allow for people that want to live a maintenance-free life, different vocations will be able to live in this, and will have access to the train. I should also say that we, since we've submitted the plan, we have added a bike rack, recognizing the proximity to the commuter rail. With respect to bulk standards, the units will be 1,375 square feet, 1,400 square feet, and 1,600 square feet. They are all 2-unit apartments. And we are proposing that we will meet the density bonus requirement under 580.4C, because we are going to make some type of donation to the Conservation Commission. We're working with the agent, Amy Waukee, and also the chair. So we'll have more on that later as that begins to unfold. There is an issue with respect to parking, looking at 580.5. There seems to be an incongruity between the two tables that it refers you to, whether we're required to have 10 or 8 spaces. We do have 2 tandem, but regardless, we have 10 spaces. So I think we comply under either standard, and Mr. Seaberg can address that when he goes over the plan. But under 760.2, it would seem that we only need to have 1.5 space per 2 bedrooms. Again, that would only require 8, but we have 10. All parking areas will be landscaped and buffered. There will be a carport. Our 2 driveways are 120 feet away from one another, so that's compliant with the bylaw. And we do have an outdoor amenity space, as 580.6 suggests. That space is 2,126 square feet of private amenity space. And as we will be working with conservation to provide a public realm benefit for the bonus density. We also think that we are providing housing that there's not an abundance for, although it's not technically affordable. This will be for people who are empty nesters and sort of want to downsize. And so it's, in our view, in our reading of the Greenbush District, it seems compliant and consistent with the mission. So the lot area, well, we meet that requirement in the district. We are compliant with frontage, height, open space, setback, both front and rear. We don't need any relief whatsoever. So unless there's any questions from the board, I would suggest, unless you want to add something, Dawn, I would have Paul come up and take them through the plan.
I want to read a couple of comments that have come in. One from Will Branton, one dated May 4th. This is sewer. The sewer line at the location has sufficient capacity for the proposed project. Please note that system-wide capacity at the WWTP remains limited at this time, but there is no moratorium. Also, please note that any buildings with a sewer unit that hasn't received a betterment will owe a $16,000 connection fee per sewer unit, and that if there is a need to install manholes in the parking area for the building connections, the frame and cover for the manhole shall be watertight and bolted down with a gasket. And then another comment from June 17th, regarding the proposed sewer connection at 18 Ford Place. An additional 6-inch sewer line should be provided for the number of units being served at this location. Additional sewer connection fees will be owed at the rate of $16,000 per sewer unit, less 1 unit for the existing betterment on the lot. And finally, Water Department. The Water Department is requiring the owner/contractor to determine the existing water line to the current property at 18 Ford Place. This includes shutting it off at the water main on Ford Place, as well as cutting and capping the old line. The new service installed by the owner off McDonald Terrace will need to be inspected by the Water Department. Water and sewer lines require 10 feet of separation. If this cannot be achieved, the water line must be sleeved 10 feet in both directions and sealed at both ends. The Water Department recommends that each unit be individually metered. If you have any questions, there's the phone number, 8735.
The water's already been shut off the gate, and then I think we addressed moving it to McDonald Terrace on the updated plans, and we were aware of the cost.
Okay.
Thank you.
Paul Seaberg from Grady Consulting. All right.
I think if you can tell me where you are,
We're on sheet 3 for the most part.
which one you want, site plan or
Sheet 3, sheet 3, Steve.
Site plan. Site plan.
April's gonna know what to do. Are you there, Steve?
I think so.
Okay, all right,
3 to 7.
yes.
Okay, so as mentioned, this is an existing 10,000 square foot lot. There's an existing single-family dwelling located in the center of the lot here, a detached garage located in the back right-hand corner of the lot, and an existing paved driveway that runs down to Ford Place. What we'd like to do is construct a multi-family dwelling building consisting of 5 two-bedroom units. This is going to be a proposed pervious paver driveway coming off of Ford Place that's 11 feet wide. That's going to consist of pervious pavers and a infiltration system that will run to the proposed subsurface infiltration system in the rear of the property. This is going to be 2 tandem parking spaces right here to the right of the proposed building. In addition, we are proposing access off of McDonald Terrace. That will consist of 8 parking spaces located beneath the proposed building overhang, kind of like a carport setup. We're proposing a dumpster in the back right-hand corner of the parking lot behind the building here. Utilities servicing the building consist of accessing the 6-inch water main located on McDonald Terrace here. And the proposed water main will come across the street here, connecting to the side of the building here. Sewer will connect into the existing sewer main, 6-inch sewer stub that is currently servicing the existing single-family dwelling. And as the sewer department mentioned, we will also provide another 6-inch sewer line connecting into that sewer main as well. Electric will consist of underground electric service coming off of the utility pole shown here in the corner of McDonald Terrace and Ford Place. For stormwater, currently the existing single-family dwelling, all impervious areas from the site currently just flow overland to Ford Place and McDonald Terrace, and also properties to the south and the west. What we're proposing to do is capture all impervious runoff from the proposed building in the parking areas and route them to a subsurface infiltration system consisting of a concrete galley system located underneath the parking lot here. Runoff from the parking lot in the rear of the building will be directed to a catch basin located near McDonald Terrace here and directed to a bypass drain manhole shown here, and then into an oil and grit separator, and then into the subsurface infiltration system. As I previously mentioned, runoff from the tandem parking area coming off of Ford Place will go down to a crushed stone layer and then run through a 8-inch drain line to the subsurface infiltration system. And runoff from the building will be collected through roof leaders into roof drains located on both sides of the building and then directed to the subsurface infiltration system as well. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the site plan.
Okay, Steve, any questions at this point?
Well, many, because I can barely hear and I can't really see what you're pointing at, so I'll hold for now.
All right. John, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I can go kind of just keep going with highlights if you want, or my comment, talking to me.
Okay, Karen?
He's talking, no.
Okay,
You
go
were
ahead.
talking to him.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear us, John?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. All right, go over the highlights, please.
Okay, I think, so I did a revised set of plans, which I got on Friday. I haven't reviewed all that. It seemed a bit worthwhile to wait till this meeting because there's a lot of things that the board needs to weigh in on. In particular, they're asking for 3 extra units, so there's a public benefit to that. There's a lot to discuss on that that the board has to opine on. There's a conceptual shared access, which is a desirable thing. And I think the board may want to discuss their feelings on that. As far as the plan itself, some of the issues, I think the parking under the building at the 2 ends is tight. They provided a plan, but I think if you had a larger vehicle, it would be difficult to get into the 2 end spaces. I know that some of the revised information showed us a compact SUV, but not everybody has a small car. Small car will fit. The other thing is, I think the board needs to look at section 760.7 of the zoning bylaw. So the applicant says that does not apply. I'm going to always take a conservative approach and assume that it does, because what it says is whenever off-street parking in the village center and neighborhood district, general business and commercial districts, which this is required in accordance with section 760, the following provisions shall apply. This isn't a business or commercial use, it's different in the district. So you need to come up with the board needs to come up with an opinion on that. If it applies, then some of those aspects apply. If it doesn't apply, based on what your interpretation of the zoning code is, it does make a difference on the plan. I think that I don't know if fire department had any comment on this, but so the spaces are sort of in a overhang under the building. The parking spaces are all right in a row. There's no like isolated area. Typically when you have a building like this, you'd maybe patch out the strip 5 feet wide at the front door or the back door, wherever you go in, so people can have easy access in and out. But if all the cars are right in a regular space, they're going to have to work their way through. The plans that I reviewed had about a 2-foot strip against the building, which wouldn't really be wide enough to access, and they didn't have any, the cars could overhang that. I did take a quick look at the revised plan. They put curb stops, and now it's 3 feet wide. They're still pretty tight for that type of a location. The shared driveway would give them plenty of room because now you just move that out. But without it, I think it's a real tight situation for the parking and for the pedestrian access along that area, and potentially for the fire department if they have to get in that location. So I think that's something they need to look at. The board, I think, should look at the outdoor amenity space. I mean, it's pretty much the building takes up most all the lot with a strip around it. Pavements right to the property line on either edge, just about, the back edge, and on the, that, I guess it would be the west side, the western north side. So it's, it's not a lot of space, and there's just a little strip. There's not really an amenity space in accordance with the bylaw. The bylaw has a whole bunch of things that I think the board needs to review on that. I'm not going to look at those personally. That's more for you to do, but I just highlighted as something that you need to do. There's a bunch of different comments that I think they can probably address relative to some of the drainage things. Soils look to be good. It's all sandy. The drainage is very close to the building, though. I mean, there's I guess what you would have like a tile footing or a sonotube type foundation with a post coming up in a column, and the drainage system is very close to that. I recommend you get the building inspector to make sure that's okay, because you do have to dig these out occasionally if they clog up. So you'd be digging up right next to the foundation of the building to do that. I did see that they proposed those footings to be deeper than the bottom of the infiltration system. So theoretically you wouldn't disturb it, but it's still pretty close. So I would ask the building inspector if that's okay, then that's okay. Usually you have more separation than that when you build these things. So that's something to think about. Ultimately, it's a pretty tight site to develop, so I think you'll need a fairly robust construction plan. How are you going to do it? Where are the people going to park? How are they going to work? I mean, they can't take up the whole road to build it, and the roads are narrow. The post office is there, so people are coming in and out. There's other businesses on the street. So construction parking, they may have to ferry people in or have a plan for how they're going to do that, how they're going to manage the site. Those are, I think, my highlights, unless you have any other questions for me.
Okay. All right, Steve, did you catch all of that?
I did.
And
That's
you?
a good summary. Thank you.
Okay. All right, comments, Karen?
So I think John hit on some of my comments, and the board does have several decisions here that they are going to be faced with. The public benefit, by right, they can have 2 units. By special permit, they're asking for 5. There's detailed information required of what needs to be submitted for this density improvements, and none of that has been submitted. They are starting to talk with the, Conservation Commission about a couple potential projects that are in an approved plan, and that's critical because they relate to sidewalks and pathways, or, accessible active or passive recreation, which are requirements that that the public benefit has to make, but they have to provide a written description, the significance to the town, provision for maintenance if required, cost estimates, and a sketch plan. And the board can require a bond to cover those improvements. Specific time frame, the board is going to have to look at that, and the applicant is going to have to provide a list of the permits that are required, if any, for the improvements. So they are working on that, but that is significant to this project. The parking, I had a conversation with the building commissioner today. The bylaw is in conflict with itself. One place, it does say, 1 space per bedroom, 1 space. Another place, it says that 1.5 spaces per bedroom. The building commissioner was inclined to say, because it's in the VCN, 1.5 spaces per bedroom. We advertised for the worst case scenario, so whatever the board decides, whether you think it should be 10 parking spaces or 8 parking spaces, you're covered advertising-wise. The tandem parking is a special permit, and those are the extra ones on the side. The board is going to have to look at, like John said, the turning radii, and it's a tight site. How will this be constructed? We just got late this afternoon, and I didn't forward to anybody because it came in late, the condo association documents, the master deed, and that information. And then, how the parking, technically they have 21% open space. The board is going to have to decide if it meets the definition of the outdoor amenity space in the bylaw.
Okay.
So the board does have to make some decisions and hopefully give the applicant some guidance of how, to proceed on some of these items.
Okay. Steve?
Well, I hear all this, and I guess we need to address these. I guess my first question is, what is the proposed public benefit here?
What was the,
What is the proposed public benefit?
we were talking, Bob Galvin was talking with the Conservation Commission. They had earmarked a project that they were looking to get funding for. It was for a pedestrian footbridge somewhere. That information came to me later today. I know they were trading conversations, and I think they were talking about having a meeting next week to talk about it. And
I can relate. The footbridge, we talked about, Conservation is talking about two different things. It kind of has, the public benefit has to be in the Greenbush area, and for years they've been trying to get a bridge, and I haven't been to the site, so I don't really know, but if you go, there's a little park next to the Dunkin' Donuts that's got a path that goes beyond Totman, and there's some access down there that it leads to the trails that go over to the North River Park, down where the boats and the kayaks launch. And so a bridge down by that, there's a kind of like a culvert area, a crossing that would need to be done, and that would help people get to the conservation park. And so this has been, this plan, Amy told me this afternoon, they might even actually have some plans for it that were done about 14 years ago. But either something with the bridge or something with the park would be a benefit to residents living in Greenbush, because from this development, they can walk along the MBTA pathway, go up to the lights, cross, and then go down and access this, what is just hopefully path network, which would be a public benefit.
Okay, thank you, Karen. All right, Steve?
And I guess what other public benefits are being considered, or is that it?
As far as I know, that's it at the moment.
Yeah, that's it for this, at this moment in time.
So the board is going to have to decide what an increased density of 3 units is worth.
can I?
Yes.
And just in regard to the increase of 3 units, I just also want to mention, before we had originally were going to submit plans to the planning board prior to you getting approval for all the bylaw changes. And we were told by Mr. Washburn that don't submit the plans, your density won't change, just hold off because then, we can review it under the new bylaws. Well, we go to submit the plans and to find out that they changed the density from 40,000 buildable lot to a true acre. So we actually lost a unit by not submitting the plans. We were told to hold off. So we actually lost a unit there. By right, we would have had 3 units. So, I look at this as I'm really looking for 2 extra units when it comes to community benefits, because I know under the current bylaw now, but we were told,
You know what? He's gone his merry way.
Right.
And we have to deal with what we have to deal with right here and right now.
And I understand that, but I believe Karen was there, witnessed this. She was in the room when this happened. I mean, it did. So, but regardless, I'm not, we know we have to go, we're going for 3, but I just want to make that, aware to the board that, we were ready to submit plans under, thinking when we bought the property that we were by right 3 units. And then I'd also, if I can I address Mr. Cheshires'
Yes.
comment about the park? So with regard to the 1.5 parking spots per unit, if we were able to do that, I'd be happy to get rid of a unit under the portico or under the garage space to allow for more access through there and wider spots, because we'd still have 1 extra unit, 9 parking spots. And if I had to give up another unit to make it 8, because I would still be allowed to do 8, and to add more of a community benefit, I could do a little paved area for the residents, patio of some sort along there. I'd rather keep, minimum 9 spots, but I'd take 1 out of there to allow for, wider spots and more access. And And I could also look at getting private trash pickup and moving the dumpster back to a to garbage pail, to the pickups for the pails, because they can pick up on the side and don't have to pull straight in. But again, we are pursuing the shared driveway, if we can make that work. And if I can mention something about that, I know I have spoken to the developer behind us, and his concern is it's a benefit to both of us, but his concern is he's ready to start construction very shortly, and it's an issue with him going in front of a new site plan review with this whole new shared driveway. We've submitted a plan for a shared driveway. What I propose is that we can have our engineer just do showing the combined site plans, mine and the one that was approved, and then overlaying the shared driveway and submitting it, that way, instead of forcing the developer behind us to go back to a site plan review to modify his special permit. We did supply, and I know you mentioned it, the architect did write a letter and supply drawings regarding the footings and saying it was okay to do that along the back, and we are making them deeper, so. And that's all I have to say.
That's all you have to say?
That's it, I think I covered everything.
I think that one of the major issues that we have here,
Yeah,
it is a very small area between Ford Place and McDonald Terrace.
yep.
And you have, my goodness, and you have people parking everywhere. And it is very, very tight. How do you plan, if this were going forward, to construct this building?
Well, I mean,
Where are you going to park your vehicles?
well, we'll park them in the back and on the side, and if I have to, find a spot at the parking lot and talk to, it's during construction hours, and find a place, someone in the area would let me park, a couple cars in their lot. But right now, I mean, cars have been parking up and down that street. The landscape company, both those landscape and everyone, they've been parking up and down those streets for a long time. So this project would actually eliminate that and create more of a neighborhood, a streetscape, because it will be curbing or, along those roads, so they won't be able to park and pull up onto the side of the lot
Watch them.
anymore.
They will.
So this would actually help the parking after the project is done. But, there's always challenges with, I've built buildings in Boston and there's always challenges with parking, but it's short-lived. It's 6-7 months, and then, then you have a finished, beautiful building. And
All right, Stevie, you have anything more you want to add at this time?
I think I would like to, maybe something we need to go back to the sewer department about, but it seems like they made a comment that they said system-wide capacity is limited, but there's capacity in the pipe itself. So they seem to suggest that, while they could flow the sewer in the sewer line, the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant doesn't exist. So I guess I'd like some clarity on that. They kind of threw that one out there as a double-edged sword, it sounded like to me. Are they saying there is no capacity?
No, they didn't say that at all. What they said...
What are they saying?
What they're saying, hang on a second. Where'd it go? It says, note that the system-wide capacity at the wastewater treatment plant remains limited at this time, but there is no moratorium.
Okay. Well, I guess I would ask that we follow up and ask them what limited at this time really means.
Fine.
Limited to what?
Good question. Okay. Anything else?
I would also like to know from the proponent what the expected water usage for the completed project would be.
so it'd be typical for a 2-bedroom apartment. They have 2 bathrooms and a kitchen, and there's 5 of them. So,
So,
I-
yeah,
and-
I'd like you to put the numbers together in just a minute, if you would.
okay.
Okay?
You guys were okay with individually metering the water?
Yeah, I mean, I'm paying $14,000-$15,000 a unit for it anyway. I might as well individually meter it. So that's
I think
not a...
the objective for individual meters is to have the users cognizant of how much water they're using.
Yeah, it's a
It's really
condo.
a water conservation issue.
They're for sale individually, so they would be individually metered.
Okay. We didn't really talk about the outdoor amenity space in much detail, but it seems like we should evaluate that against the requirements of the bylaw and make sure we're addressing it accordingly.
Okay? The thought is, you said that you had how much square footage on the property for open space for an amenity?
2,100.
Now, is that big enough to put a couple of benches, to put a grill, or?
We can certainly find a spot to put a bench, or, I don't know about a grill just because of the condo, bylaws where, if we want someone else, people barbecuing out there just from a cleanliness standpoint, I don't know what people would be cooking outside someone's window, but I mean, benches are, benches, I'm sure we can find a spot for a bench or two around the property. There's room in a couple spots, so, I just hate that, I don't know how often they'd be used to put something there that would just, to check a box.
It's not a question of checking a box.
Yeah.
We have discovered that
It's a requirement of the bylaw, so let's make sure we apply that, right?
Okay, 50 Country Way, because of COVID, a lot of the units did not have balconies, so people were stuck in their houses, their units, and requested, and the property manager agreed and put out some benches so that they would be able to be outside.
Well, each unit has a large outdoor porch, private area for each individual unit, the upper units and the lower units. But if there's a need for, I'm happy to put a bench, two benches in the front, or two benches, a bench on the front, a bench on the side. If the benches are required, I'll find a spot for them. But they do, all the units do have, significant outdoor patio space or deck space for each unit, so to allow for outdoor.
All right, well, we will pursue this with due diligence next time.
Is there any sort of walking or biking trail connections we need to consider here?
That was the public benefit, Steve, of the bridge over the trail that wanders around.
I'm talking about at the property itself.
They have access to the MBTA trail that goes all the way up to 50 Country Way and also goes to the Driftway, and then they can walk on the sidewalk to the lights. I mean, they can walk to the train. And if they wanted to, they could walk down Ford Place to the general store. I mean, there are some areas that are certainly walkable in that area.
Yeah, I'm just saying, is the property, is it adjacent to or connected to any of the walking trails or biking trails in there that we need to make sure we're connecting to?
Karen?
I think that they're not providing any sidewalk on their site to connect there, but I think what Ann just said, the trail, I mean, they walk just right down the side of McDonald Terrace or out on Ford Place, and they can go, the path is right there. There are no walkways, I don't believe, on McDonald Terrace or Ford Place.
There's a sidewalk on
Wait a minute, there is a sidewalk, you're right. There is a sidewalk on the far side of Ford Place. It's by the post office and goes down there, so,
It runs the whole length of
It runs the-
the whole length of the Ford Place, the sidewalk.
and it's got the fancy brick that was done when they did the improvements in Greenbush.
The streetscapes.
So this is right across the street from that, so they can get to a sidewalk.
And there's access to the MBTA.
Yes.
Right in the back of the post
Yes.
office.
Yep, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve? Ben?
My first comment is just in regards to the public realm benefit. Obviously, we need to know much more about that before I'm comfortable making a determination on whether a density bonus should be permitted. So that's really the main thing that I need to have more information on. Other than that, I also would, being involved in kind of getting this bylaw through town meeting and knowing the thought that the consultant put into it, I would like to see a little bit more thought in regards to the 21% open space and the public amenity aspect of it. I think that right now, just looking at the landscape plan and site plan, there's not like a lot of outdoor usable space for the residents, and I think that just a little bit of thought and extra could kind of be a better product for the future residents, as well as hit the intent of that part of the bylaw a little closer to home. Trying to see what else. Another kind of thing that Mr. Chesia pointed out that I'm also looking at some satellite imagery of the site that I'm a little sad to see is that none of the existing large caliper trees are intended to be preserved. So I think that part of the low impact development standard of the bylaw, particularly when it talks about natural landscaping and site development, like I think it says something like existing vegetation and large caliber trees are to be preserved to the greatest extent possible. So you don't have to necessarily answer this, but I guess I'm curious in terms of the site design development, how the iterations went about, whether there was any chance to preserve existing trees through.
Ben, if I could comment, I sent you pictures on the trees. They're not in great shape. They're Norway maples, and parts of each one of them are in the crown are all dead or missing major limbs.
Okay. Well, regardless of that, the trees still provide a significant environmental benefit through taking up groundwater, providing shade, and also actually helping with stormwater as well, because there's a part of the hydrologic cycle where the leaves catch the water. It's interception, it's called, when they actually, when you go in a rainstorm, you stand under a tree because it stays dry, and that's part of it. So regardless, that's fine. I know that we can't save the trees, but just keep in mind that even if they're not trees of high value, they are mature trees, and they provide some idea of look and feel as well as environmental benefit to the overall Ford Place area. And then on the landscape plan, I would be nice to see some more native species incorporated. There's a couple of nativars, particularly the arborvitae and the ilex that's included, but it'd be nice to see more native species and a little bit more thought put into the landscaping plan. It's kind of like a mass planting approach right now, which is fine, but maybe a little bit more diversity in the plantings and something that's going to have some more ecological benefit. And then my main issue with the planting plan is obviously goes back to the trees. It's proposed that 6 shade trees are going to be added, but the ones that are specified are the calorie pear trees, which really are not great for street trees. They're prone to splitting, and they're actually in a lot of horticultural circles being considered an invasive species now. So I think maybe rethinking what we might want to use if these are street trees that might also eventually afford some sort of public benefit would be helpful. That's all I have right now. Oh, the one other thing Mr. Chesia pointed out that I'm also a little concerned with is obviously there's a lot I understand like the limitations on the site that we can't get too creative with kind of low impact development, stormwater and green infrastructure. So we're doing this kind of like a couple ways to capture the stormwater, and then we're doing this big infiltration galley at the rear. I am concerned with that in terms of the O&M and whether there's some sort of system failure, how that could be addressed. So if just a little bit and more detail on the kind of the O&M, as well as whether, how might that be rectified if the system doesn't function as designed or something happens and it's rendered ineffective. And that's pretty much all I have now. So if you guys want to address any of those comments now, we can. If not, I'll yield back to the chair.
Patty?
That's a hard act to follow. Okay. So I agree with Ben about the trees. Overall, I've visited this site several times, and it's a really crowded area.
Oh, yeah.
And Northern Oak is parked everywhere. The rendering is beautiful. It's hard for me to picture that to the house that's sitting there right now.
Yeah.
Is part of the betterment, don't we have a tree bank in town that you could give money to? Is that not a thing?
I'm open to
I'm
whatever.
not sure, I don't know if that's a thing.
We used to have a place, we used to grow trees
Yeah.
down where the dog park is now, but that's
But I know what you're
gone.
talking about.
But-
It's for the common driveway.
Yeah, for the
that
common
Steve
drive,
Borland,
yeah, that Steve, Steve Bjorklund did, that they would give us trees that maybe you could do something like this. This is an area of town that is undergoing a great bit of development. Lots of pros and cons. I think it's very exciting. It's nice that we have sewer here, which should really be in North Scituate. It is here, down here. My concern, again, is the narrowness of McDonald Terrace, and if there are people parked there, and a fire engine and any kind of emergency equipment, which I know will be addressed, hopefully. And the street itself is not in great shape. So there has to be something to do with the undermining of McDonald Terrace itself in order to, especially like if you have dump trucks going in there, right? The street is going to collapse at some point. It does not look all that sturdy to me.
Okay.
So that's it.
Rebecca?
So if you go down to less parking spaces,
Can you hear her, Steve?
yeah, no, probably not. If you have less parking spaces, is this proposed on the side? Will that all just be green?
Well, we'll keep,
Or will you keep that?
I'd
and
keep
get rid-
one spot over there and get rid of one spot under the parking. And because I can go down to 8. So I can take one out and take one out there, and that would give me a lot more room under the portico, and that would allow for more open space on the side. And obviously you have 10 units. I'd like to have, if I can, 9 spots would be great. If I have to go to 8 in order to make this work, then that's what I have to do. But I'd rather take out one spot under the portico, under the garage, and allow more space under there. But
Are you going to assign those two over to the one side?
yeah, they'd be assigned, if there's 2 spots there, they'd be probably assigned to unit 1, the one that's first floor unit right there.
And where's the snow going to go then?
Now, where's the snow going?
Well, we talked about what we were talking about is moving the dumpster, doing a private trash pickup and just putting it in the hammerhead. Put it in there. Which I would prefer to do individual barrels and private pickup than a dumpster. It takes up less room, and there's, it's easier, doesn't make as much noise. It's just,
Where are you
and
going
then
to
you
put
have
the
other
barrels?
people.
Where will the barrels go?
Where would the barrels go?
The barrels would go back up onto that area. I can put a row of barrels along the end of the hammerhead, or I can put them back up to where the original drawing that showed the dumpster on the side of the garage.
But isn't that going into the open space?
Well, I can, but then I can take out the park spots.
one of the other, Rebecca, are you all set?
Yeah, I'm all set right now.
The other issue, because as we have said, how tight the area is, God forbid anybody in any of these units has company. Where are they going to park?
Well, the idea is if we had 10 spots, everyone would get 2 spots. You have the commuter rail, so is everyone going to have 2 cars? You know, I mean, if you have a commuter rail.
Right,
the
we
commuter-
can't depend upon that. We
Right,
can't.
but the idea of being near the commuter rail is that these would be 1-car downsizers, that would have 1 car. But, you know, that's why we have the 10 spots. But I believe, is there street parking allowed in that area?
Well,
I don't know if it's specifically not.
it's not,
Yeah. I mean, they've been,
Every street in town is like that.
you know, I mean, that's with every house in the town. Where do people park when they have guests?
they can park with Northern Oak and the landscapers.
They won't be there in winter time.
Oh,
Something to think about.
yeah.
And also, too, the post office closes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so there's a couple of spaces there,
Yeah.
maybe. But at any rate, Karen?
No, I mean, the fire, deputy fire chief does know he needs to make a comment.
Yes.
You know, he will be commenting, and he was gonna drive down and look at the area, but he just didn't get the comment in time.
One, I do,
I can't hear what you're saying.
excuse me, Steve?
Oh, Steve, the deputy
I
fire,
didn't hear what was being said.
the deputy fire chief knows that he owes a comment. He just, he was gonna drive down there and, he's gonna write something, but he just didn't get to it yet.
All right, I had a phone call from Sean Harris, who owns property at the head of Ford Place where the pizza parlor is. Okay. And one of the neighbors, the suggestion was made, and I don't know if this could ever happen or if it's a good idea, but he was wondering, is there any potential of opening up the end of McDonald Terrace down to the dance studio where that driveway is for another exit entrance?
I don't own any.
No, I know, you don't own any of it.
I mean, I could say yes, but I don't.
But that was thrown
Yeah,
out.
I don't,
I think Berwick owns that.
yeah.
So, okay. All right, and my last comment would be, I think underneath the portico, whatever you want to call it, is really very, very tight. And people like big cars now, not little ones. And I'm not sure that you have enough room, if you have 8 cars under there, or 6, or however.
Well, I could eliminate a spot, and that'll be plenty. I mean, they meet, even, you know, by eliminating, the way they are, they meet what is a parking spot, and that's why if I eliminate a spot out of there, which I'm happy to do, you're adding...
More room.
You're adding more room. You're adding more room to all the spots and with a walkway between them, you know? Which, like I said, you know, I meet the bylaw with 8, or maybe I also meet it with 10. I don't know. I guess I meet it with both. But, you know, if I have to go to 8, I will go to 8.
Are these, Ben?
I just had a couple of comments when you
Go for it.
Well, one, I think we already know this because it's scheduled next week, but this is a project that we'd like to see go to Design Review
Yeah.
Committee. I just want to say for the people listening that it will be going to Design Review to be reviewed in terms of the architectural and kind of site aspects of the project. And then kind of tied into that, my other comment is that, and this is the same for the project at our last meeting, you guys are kind of the first wave of redevelopment into a more dense type of housing or building in the Greenbush area. And right now, you're kind of have to live in harmony with a lot of residential abutters that have kind of been there in single-family homes or whatever for a long time. And, you know, some people respect change, some people are resistant to it, but the matter of the fact is that you're all going to be neighbors, and there has to be some sort of give and take so that it ends up being a positive project for the community and for the people that live in the neighborhood. So I would just say that and obviously we're going to hear from the public tonight, but I think just trying to have an amicable relationship and work together with those abutters to try to make sure that it's something that's mutually positive in the end is important.
Sherry, do we have any?
We do.
All right, then why don't we start the question and answer time?
Q&A session has started.
Okay, the first,
You want to, just give a second. Okay. Ready?
ready. Okay, who do we have, please?
Taryn Consilvio.
And your address?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Your address.
Oh, 22 Ford Place.
All right, and your comment? Question?
Just a couple questions. Drainage, I'm not sure.
Concerned about the building of the drainage. Always worry when you're putting a building that size, what it will do to the rest of the properties around it. You worry about the transfer of water going to some other place. And I realize they said they're going to make some sort of a system so that wouldn't happen, but one of the other gentlemen brought up a good point. What if that system fails? Then what? Another issue is the height of the building. From what we can look at the plans, it looks like it's about 40 feet. That is going to just totally overshadow every other building that's in that small area. The other thing is too, it's such a huge building on such a small lot. And the space that they're saying for open space
It's not
just
Karen,
doesn't seem
it's
adequate. Friends, if they have
Right. Okay, would you please identify yourself
in
again?
their home.
Ma'am, what is your name again? For our records?
Mary Lou Consilvio.
Okay, Mary Lou, thank you. As far as the height of the building is concerned, it is
31 to the ridge. Average pitched roof is 25.
it's 31 feet tall, not 40.
I thought on the plan it looked like 40 feet.
It says 20 average, let's see, 25, 6'8", let's see, 9 foot first floor, 8'1", 6 and 6. So, and that's to the max ridge, so 25 plus 6, 31.
31.
Oh, and 10 inches.
31 and 10 inches. Call it 32.
Okay,
So
so the other, I think Mr. Burrow was 35, so then that would be similar in range.
Yes, yes.
Another issue would be, what about outside lighting? If they're going to have that much of that size of a building, will they be putting any lighting around to, for the evening if those people are going outside? Parking obviously is an issue. You know how tight Ford Place is and also McDonald Way with especially during the day with the post office, with the other businesses that are on the street. So the people that live there and have it as their residences, it just seems like it may be insurmountable with the amount of cars coming down the street. Many times you come down and you're almost heading towards someone else because if someone does try to park on the street, there's no way to go. You have to kind of play chicken and pull in and out to try to get down the street. Another thing would be, what about emergency vehicle access? I know you brought up that someone has been talking to the fire department. That would be something that would be very interesting to find out what's their point of view, because it is such a tight area to move vehicles in and out. The local traffic would just kind of, we worry about it because it's already a problem. Those are just some concerns. And I guess the size of the building on that smaller lot, the parking, something about the bylaws being 1.5 cars per unit or per bedroom, but no one has half a car. So I'm a little concerned about that as well. Just concerns.
Okay. Yes.
We meet the requirements on parking, and we're not doing any restricting of the street or
Right.
the turning radius for any emergency vehicles.
Well, your concerns are well taken, note has been made, and we will do everything we can to allay your fears. As far as the outside lighting is concerned, the applicant is going before the Design Review Committee on Monday evening, and lighting will be dealt with at that time. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. Another person?
Unless someone else has one.
Is there anyone else that wishes to comment? Okay. That's it.
Q&A session is over.
I like these Zoom meetings. I like these Zoom meetings.
You do, I don't. Not really. Okay, you have a laundry list of things that need to be dealt with.
Yep.
And I think that you really need to pin down what you're going to do for the public good. That is probably paramount.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to hold Conservation's feet to the fire in order to get them to give you.
That's what we're trying.
Right, because I remember this from community preservation, there was discussion about this bridge. So, sometimes it's hard to track these people
But
down.
also, acknowledge that the design review committee is going to look at this as well, so we would encourage you to work closely with them to come up with a consensus coming out of that meeting if we could.
Okay. All right, so we then need to continue this meeting to a date. Karen?
As we've been doing one major thing a night, the next major time is September 24th.
We have no choice. You have to keep something in mind, Mr. McGill.
Yeah.
As it stands right now with this emergency that we are in point of fact, we don't have to meet with anybody until after the emergency is lifted, and then we have 45 days to do it. So, unlike many other boards in this town, except the selectmen, we are meeting. And we are doing the very best that we can. And I know that you don't like it. We don't like it either. But we're doing the best we can with what we have to work with. So September, what was it?
24th.
24th.
Can offer one other thing, just for consideration.
I'll take it.
If they think they will have just the public benefit portion worked out, we could squeeze them in for a little bit of time on August 13th.
I'll take it.
That's
If
2
they-
weeks
if they
from now.
think- But that's, the public benefit stuff has to be,
I mean, if you put me on for that, I mean,
You better work really
Yeah.
hard.
yeah, Bob said he'd cancel his vacation in order to get this.
but we're only going to talk about public benefit.
That's just
and
the
then
public
rest-
benefit.
The rest,
Well-
from there, we will continue to August to September 24th for the rest of the stuff.
But if we have, so you can put me on the schedule for both September 24th, you mean?
Yes.
You say August or
Yeah,
September?
August 13th and September 24th.
Okay, so if I can get August, the public benefit, and I would have already seen the design review, but,
Yep.
so I'll do what I can, and I'll take it.
I think as part of that objective, if we can make sure we get a full write-up description, based on the requirements in the bylaw, let's make sure that's submitted well in advance of August 13th.
Has to
So
be
we
a
have
week
something
in
to review.
advance.
You don't have much time.
Yep. So what is he looking for?
We're looking for everything in the bylaw for the public improvements a week before the meeting.
So you really have only 2 weeks to get this together. You have
As long, I mean, we can do it on my side as long as I can get the town or the Conservation Commission to sit down. I think Bob said that there was a meeting, he said next week? Next week, I think. They were meeting with the Conservation Commission, so, I don't think, hopefully, it won't be too difficult.
Even if it's a draft, we need to sort of put a stake in the ground on it, and you can tell us what's still left open, which could be addressed at the September 24th session.
I'm sure you can do this.
Oh, we're going to do it.
I'm sure you can do
We're
this.
going to do it. So we'll
No.
take the date.
All right, okay, you're welcome.
I move to accept the applicant's request to continue the public hearing for the site plan administrator review and special permit for the density and tandem parking in the Village Center and Neighborhood District, Greenbush Village Center Sub-District, Greenbush Gateway District, for property located at 18 Ford Place until August 13th at 7 PM.
No, do 8.
Excuse me?
Do 8. We already have a public hearing at 7.
Okay, so at 8 PM. And continue the time for action until October 30th, 2020.
Is there a second, please? All in favor?
Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Mr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
And understand that you are penciled in now for the 24th of September.
Yes.
So you get your public benefits squared away and something, a draft, whatever.
Yep.
Pin them down, and then the rest of it can be dealt with on the 24th of September.
You got it.
Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. This is-
Okay, so
Wait a minute, we need a signature.
I'll tell you later.
By approving the special
There's
permit.
everything down there.
Where am I sitting?
Okay,
Right here?
I don't know. Do you want today's date? Okay. All right, thanks.
do we need to wait on Studley Farm, or is he coming in, or what's the story? He's not on until 8:30. All right. So,
So you might want to just let people know, anyone that's not, for this part of the hearing this part of the meeting for 18 Ford Place is over. If you choose to leave the meeting, please leave the meeting, don't end the meeting. As we move on to the next thing.
okay. What on this agenda, Karen, can we deal with right now?
All right, so is,
Mr. DeLisi's on the line?
see, just ask if Joe Iantosca's on the line.
Yeah, but they're all muted, so give me 1 second. He's not on the line yet. We have on the line, Jeff DeLisi and Paul Spearing.
We can do the withdrawal of the Form A for 143 and 145 Border Street.
So do we have a motion for that?
Yeah, they are, they just wanted more time. They submitted it, then they wanted more time. It will probably be at your next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I move the applicant's request to withdraw the application for an approved, not required, a plan of land 143 and 145 Border Street, Scituate, Mass., being a division of LC Plan 19784D and G, stamped by Douglas L. Aberg, PLS, of Merrill Engineers and the Land Surveyors, for the applicant owners of Lions Head Trust, J. Maxwell Blinky, trustee, and to waive a new application fee as the plan has not been presented to the board yet.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes?
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Thank you, all unanimous.
All right, who's on with Mr. DeLisi and Paul Sharon? They're not on until,
Mr. DeLisi and Mr. Buckley are on the line.
okay, so that's,
That I unfortunately don't know what it is.
You have to take that down. I can't hear what you're saying.
I'm sorry, I have one number that I don't know who it is,
Okay?
but I can unmute everyone.
Unmute them and let's find out who they are.
All participants are unmuted.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Ask,
Yeah, who
I
is,
now know what it feels like to be forced to wait behind a meeting, so.
okay. And now you are representing who tonight, Jeff?
So I have 3 matters before you, all 3 of the Form As, the 2 for Seaside at Scituate and the 1 for 376 Two Justice Cushing.
Okay.
I will not be participating in the Curtis Estates matter.
Fine. All right, then let's start with this 15 Longley.
Okay, well, it makes sense. I think Dave Buckley's on the line, so I just wanted to introduce Dave, myself, on behalf of Toll Brothers. Both of these A&Rs, the first one on Longley and the other one on 6th Avenue, they're both intended to remedy encroachments that are part of, or on behalf of neighbors that are encroaching on Toll's property. And what the intention is to carve out parcels around those encroachments and then just give the land to the neighbors. So in this particular circumstance on Longley Road, we're looking to we're looking for the board to create parcel A, which is 1,000 square feet from the larger lot, and then we would deed that over to the Hannons. On that particular parcel, I'm informed that there's a shed, and so we're carving out some land to legitimize the shed and to secure title to. It's not creating any infectious and validity issue. There's plenty of remaining square foot for the remaining lot. And we submitted a letter. We anticipated that the board would be interested in whether deeding any of these 2 parcels would create some kind of issue with the stormwater drainage. So we had our engineers look at it, and they informed us that they actually did not factor those areas into their drainage calculations because of the encroachments. So there's a net no change on the stormwater for the Toll property. So I suppose this is kind of an acknowledgement also that if you were to sign these A&Rs and we were to convey the land, that it would be minor and insignificant. We would require modification to either our special permit or our stormwater permit.
How does that happen?
But that's really the gist of Longley Road.
All right, Karen?
and the Form A is just to really to correct an encroachment. The lot still has plenty of access frontage, and I would recommend the board endorse the plan.
Okay. Questions from the board?
How does that happen?
Because it does.
They were there before, they were there for a long time.
Long time.
Before the,
Any
property was
concerns,
developed.
Steve? Steve?
Did you ask a question, Ann?
I'm asking if anyone on the board has a comment. And Rebecca?
I do not have a comment.
This is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, all right, she has no comment. Steve?
Just a clarification, Jeff, parcel A, as marked on this property, did you say was not included in the original stormwater calculation? Yeah, so the letter that was submitted by, I think it was Stantec, indicated that I'll just read it for you just to be precise, Steve. A parcel of 1,000 square foot, let's see here. I was just trying to quote, quite hear what you said, so, it was not included in the original stormwater calculations. Is that right?
Yeah, what they indicated was the appropriate ground cover for this shed was used in both the existing and proposed catchment plans and drainage analysis. Therefore, the land withdrawal does not affect the stormwater calculations in any way. And it said the existing shed was shown on the existing survey, and therefore Stantec is aware of the structure when we prepared the stormwater drainage analysis. Due to the existing and proposed grades and location of this existing shed, the 1,000 square foot area was included as a part of this drainage analysis as documented in the attached existing and proposed stormwater catchment plans. So it was already factored in the equation, yes. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Patty?
I move to endorse as approval not required a plan of land prepared for Toll Mass Land 3 LP in Scituate, Mass. Stamped by Sean L. Crawford, PLS of ESC Consultants for the applicant owner, Toll Mass Land 3 LP dated 4/27/20. As the division of the tract of land shown on the accompanying plan is not a subdivision, because it shows a proposed conveyance or change in lot line which does not alter the existing frontage as required under the sections of the bylaw.
Enough with moving pieces. You're making too much noise.
Is to be conveyed to 9 Wally Road in order to cure an encroaching structure. On Lot 1, 15 Wally Road, Assessors Reference 39-2-7-143.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis? Aye. Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor, unanimous, thank you.
Now, the next one, Seaside at Scituate, 7 6th Avenue. Is this the same thing?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yeah, so with respect to the 6th Ave matter, the encroachment in this case is an existing deck. So we carved out 282 square feet. It will be deeded to the owner of, to the existing dwelling at number 11. And the Stantec letter in this case indicates that Stantec was aware of the structure when we prepared the stormwater drainage analysis. Due to the existing and proposed grades and locations of the deck, the 282 square feet was never included as part of the drainage analysis. Therefore, this land withdrawal does not affect stormwater calculations in any way. So that's what's going on there.
Karen?
It's just an encroachment of the deck. It doesn't alter the frontage or the property line. I would recommend endorsement.
Okay. Steve?
I'm all set.
Okay. Ben?
Okay, I move to endorse as preferably not required a plan of land.
Here it goes again.
Toll Mass Land 3, LP in Scituate, Mass, stamped by Sean L. Crawford, PLS of ESC Consultants. For the applicant owner, Toll Mass Land 3, LP dated 12/17/19, as the division of the tract of land shown on the accompanying plan is not a subdivision because it shows a proposed conveyance or a change in lot line which does not alter the existing frontage as required under the Scituate zoning bylaw in Parcel A, is to be conveyed to 11 6th Avenue in order to cure an encroaching structure on the applicant's land of 7 6th Avenue, Assessors Map Reference 34-6-13-152.
Second? Jeff, enough with the papers.
I can mute him.
Do you want us to mute you?
I just did.
Good.
Ms. Burbine?
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein?
Yeah.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Unanimous, thank you.
Okay. We can move on to 376 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. Can you unmute the noisemaker?
Yes.
Yes, Mother. Jeffrey.
Apologies, I just realized that any movement I make is picked up on a microphone.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you better behave yourself.
In this particular case, this is an interesting one. I represent Mary Mason and Jason Carl, who own the property at 376 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. The Carls were sued by their neighbor on a claim that the neighbor claims to adversely own this property. And so we've been at it for a while, and we've been able to resolve the case by a voluntary conveyance of this land. And so what this A&R does is essentially memorialize the settlement agreement, which if you were out at the property, you can see why the neighbor believes that they adversely possess that area. So basically, this would allow us to convey it to them and settle the lawsuit.
Karen?
This is an encroachment from the neighbor onto the property, and it has gone to court, and so it's really the settling of the lawsuit. Both lots still have access and frontage. I would recommend endorsement.
Okay. Comments from the board? Steve?
Hard to hear. Just a question on that. We're not addressing the lawsuit one way or the other. This is just an R, and we would be approving the change in lot line, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no position, no jurisdiction, no issue with respect to the planning board in the lawsuit whatsoever.
Okay.
It's just for the purpose of conveying the land.
All right. Ben?
No, I don't.
Rebecca? No. Patty?
I'm all set.
All right. Reed?
I move to endorse as approval not required a plan of land in the town of Central Mass, 376 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, stamped by Paul Joseph Mirabito, PLS of Ross Engineering Company, Inc., for the applicant owner Jason D. Carley Jr. and Mary Mason as the division of the tract of land shown on the accompanying plan is not a subdivision because every lot shown on the plan has frontage of at least a distance presently required by the Scituate zoning bylaw on the public way of Chief Justice Cushing Highway.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Yes.
Ms. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Unanimous, all in favor, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeLisi. Now you can go shuffle your papers.
Thank you very much. And just one question. Are you guys having a joint meeting on Monday with the Design Review Committee, or is that just the Design Review Committee meeting?
It's a design review committee meeting, but there's possibility that 3 planning board members are going to be in attendance, so we posted out of an abundance of caution.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So I believe we have Sheeran, Paul Sheeran on the line, another Dennis Sheeran, and Mr. Maravito's on the line.
But Mr.
Ryan
Iantosh,
Tosca's still not on the line.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Should I leave the room?
You know, just don't say anything.
Is that one you know that the public might? Is that one you think people would want to comment on?
On Curtis Estates, do you think that the public's...
Potential, could be.
All right.
There's a number on here, I'm sorry, I don't know who it is, and they haven't spoken out about who they are.
Okay.
can we just confirm that Joe is not on?
All right.
Can you ask to make sure Joe is not on?
All right, Mr. Sharon?
This is Paul Maravito for Paul Sharon.
All right, Paul, is who?
Ian Tosca.
Is Mr. Ian Tosca on the line?
He's not on the line. It's the only telephone number he gave me. He's not on the line.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
Which one?
All right.
You want to do minutes
All right.
first and see if Mr. Iacocca calls in the next?
Now, who is he?
He's Studley Farm. He's a
Right.
developer.
Okay. That has nothing to do with Paul
Well, we
Marabito.
could start Curtis Estates, and then
And when he comes in,
when Mr. Iantosca comes in, we can, we'll see how far we get.
all right, Curtis Estates, Paul, you're on.
Yes. Here.
Go.
And Paul, Sharon's with us. Paul, can you hear us?
Here you in.
All right.
First,
video.
the first item was your request for lot releases for lots 1, 12, and 15. You can elaborate on that one first.
Since your last request, we have gone out to basin 1 and 4. We've got some extensive maintenance on. Basin 4, the Peter Pavers came out to witness a soil test to verify that the soils that were encountered are the same as what was in the design, and he confirmed that. We also talked about the maintenance that had to be done. We essentially removed it was originally installed and replaced it, and lumen seed was placed on top of that. The grass seed is taken and the base working in a manner that they were designed to work. I believe the reason why it was not is because of the scrum layer there from a lack of roots. Those basins are functioning and they're functioning well. I believe that was the one thing remaining before the lot would consider, prior to the board considering the release of the last 3 lots, namely lots 1, 12, and 15. So with that, I'll then answer any questions the members may have.
Karen?
Indeed, what Paul says has happened, Peter. They did replace some of the soils in the basin. They dug down beyond some of the sand and took out some improper material, replaced the sand, and it's loamed and seeded. So I think they did what you asked them to do back in, wintertime for Basin 4.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we've had a lot of rain since then to see if it functions, but I do think they did meet the spirit of what you asked them to do.
Okay. All right, comments from the board.
And is Peter looked at this?
Excuse me, Steve?
Did Peter look at this?
Did Peter look at...
Peter's out there during,
Peter also sent you a report.
which I forwarded the report on to you.
That's probably buried in my file here. But he was, the bottom line is that he was okay with the work that was done.
He was okay with the work that was done, yes.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? No? Is there any public comment, please? No? All right. Okay, lot releases.
One other question, I think it was related to this, and maybe I'm misremembering it, but wasn't there a question or an issue about landscaping along the top of this berm?
Not that I'm aware of.
No? Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
Your comment, I think you said.
Well, the seating was a little weak on the top of this berm, but I mean, I think you're thinking of another subdivision, Steve. I think seating was at the,
That's possible.
I think seating along top of the berm was raised as an issue. So I don't know if they've put new seed there.
Okay. Do we have a motion for this?
Yeah, I move to accept Paul Marabito's request on behalf of Paul Sheridan and Don Gillespie as the managers of 90 and Vinyl LLC to release lots 1, 12, and 15 of the Curtis Estates flexible open space development approved by the board on 2/8/2018 and endorsed on 4/12/2018, from the covenant dated 4/10/2018 and recorded 5/15/2018 in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 49800, page 91, as a bond has been provided in the amount of $250,000. Proof of the recorded lot releases must be furnished to the town planner prior to application for any additional building permits.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Yes.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Yep.
Mr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Unanimous, all in favor?
All right, now we move on to permeable pavers. Karen, do you want to comment on this?
So some of the lots are very, very close, within 10 to 20 square feet of reaching their maximum impervious area. And we had a little issue with some of the walkways being constructed with stone dust, which is not pervious. So we suggested that they have to, the impervious area that was for the development was for the total impervious on the lot. That includes the house, the garage, the driveways, the air conditioning units, the walls. So they were very close. So as with Toll Brothers, they have decided to do permeable paving. They submitted some drainage calculations and a section to show that the
Joseph Iantosca.
Okay.
that the curve value will be similar to that of grass, which is the same thing that you requested for Toll Brothers.
All right, we're going to put this on hold for a moment because we have Mr. Iacosta on the line. Hello, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. This is Joe Tosca from Fern Properties.
Okay, Karen?
So Mr. Iantosca is requesting that the amount of surety being held for completion of Benjamin Studley Farm flexible open space subdivision be reduced from $76,800, release of $75,500. Basically, the subdivision is nearly complete, where there's still some grass along some of the edges of the roadway that needs to grow. Peter Palmieri thinks that it needs to grow better. That's essentially the only item preventing Peter from signing off on the subdivision. Joe has submitted all the rest of the documents that are needed in the path towards completion of the subdivision and ultimate street acceptance, which they hope to have in the fall of this year at town meeting. But I would agree with Peter, and so we are asking the board for $75,500 to be released. That's leaving $1,300 in the account.
Discussion from the board?
And does that mean all of the as-built drawings, et cetera, have been received?
Yes.
Okay.
I just haven't distributed anything until it comes actually time where you need to make your votes and everything. Peter Palmieri has been reviewing the as-bills and everything all along, and this is really the only item that he says is incomplete.
Anyone else? Rebecca?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Patty?
No, thank you.
Beth?
There's no indication that the areas that haven't been fully stabilized would have compromised any of the stormwater infrastructure or anything like that with sediment.
No, it's basically on the side of the road, a couple of spots, and one place going down a slope. I think I provided everybody pictures, and It's just, it's been a dry year, and the seed that they re-put for like the third time didn't take.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
I move to accept Joseph J. Iantosca's request as the manager of Fern Properties LLC to reduce the amount of surety being held for completion of the Benjamin Studley Farm definitive flexible open space development plan approved by the board on 1/30/2014 from $76,800 being held by the town treasurer to $1,300. That's a release of $75,500. As Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors agrees with the applicant's estimate that loaming and seeding work remaining is consistent with the estimate as seed germination has been slow due to the weather.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Aye.
Ms. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you, unanimous in favor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. All right, Paul Marabito, we're back.
Okay, hold on, I muted them.
You're probably talking.
Probably.
All right, they're back.
All right, we were talking about permeable, those pavers. Tongue-tied with permeable pavers.
Mr. Marabito.
Is this considered to be an insignificant change? Karen?
This is Steve. I don't think we should use the term insignificant here.
Okay.
I think we should consider this, if we're going to approve it, that it's an approved change. I don't take it as insignificant in that if we don't approve it, they will exceed the impervious area, and so will not comply with the plan approval. So I sent some comments over to Karen on the draft that we have, and I just think we should avoid using the concept of insignificant as a feature.
Okay. Karen?
I have no problem with saying that. I agree with Steve. The lots are they're very tight, and the buildings are going up almost to the max, and there's no room for the walkways. I hope people don't want to put pools in the future, because there's not going to be any impervious surface left for pools. What I am suggesting is that, approving the detail that Ross Engineering submitted, and it be followed up with a letter, and I'm asking in the letter for more work on the O&M plan. I want a revised and resubmitted full copy of the O&M plan with the ongoing maintenance requirements for the permeable pavement, so that the homeowners association, when this is ultimately turned over, can have all that in there. I believe I'm asking that you don't use sand. The O&M plan says that you can use sand for ice control, and that we don't want sand being used for ice control for the permeable pavers, because it'll clog them up. But I think they've done what Toll Brothers did with their detail, with their soils investigation, and I think what you do for one, you have to do for another.
Okay. Ben?
I don't really have much of a comment, I guess, in regards to how we consider this as a change. In terms of the permeable pavement, I would, with the details we've been provided, my main concerns are just that it is installed correctly, as a lot of times, a person that's not knowledgeable on this from a typical landscape construction or masonry company might not install to the specifications that would in fact make it pervious, and in fact they might underbid the job because they don't realize the level of excavation and suitable fill material and aggregate that needs to actually be used to make it a pervious pavement. So I would request that really a qualified installer be used, probably somebody that's registered under the ICPI Interlocking Concrete Paver Institute certification program, and make them fully aware that it's a stormwater installation project and a permeable paver project. And then also in the O&M for the permeable pavement, I think that, sorry, I'm just getting here for the language. There's for post-construction period maintenance, there's a statement made that the maintenance is ongoing, but fortunately is very simple. The homeowner is to keep the paver block clean. This can be done by broom sweeping pneumatically with a leaf blower, vacuuming with a shop vac. I think that's a little bit misleading. In my opinion, the most important thing is not to keep the paver block clean, but keep the joints clean between the paver blocks. And I think that needs to be addressed in the O&M, because it talks about like removing leaf litter and things like that, but there's nothing here that discusses what you would do should the joints become blocked and the system rendered impermeable. And I think that something that addresses that in the O&M plan should be made, whether you vacuum it out or do some sort of replacing the number 9 stone joint material or whatever it is at certain points. Just that needs to be kind of included in there. And that's all I have.
If I could just comment that prior to every certificate of occupancy, all the pavement is going to have to be inspected after the as-built is submitted. And if the joints aren't clean, no certificate of occupancy will be issued. That's the procedure we are using with Toll Brothers, and it's working because they cover the permeable pavement up to protect it from getting clogged by mulch and by the loam from putting in the lawn.
All right. Steve?
I tend to agree with Ben on this one, that we need to make sure that the O&M practices are clearly spelled out. I think, it seems viable to cover the permeable pavement during the construction process when you're constructing, right? But I find it highly unlikely that a homeowner is going to cover their permeable paving walkway during any period of the year. So having a complete set of requirements for continuing maintenance to make sure it maintains its permeability, I think is extremely important.
Patty?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right, Paul, do you have any comments?
When you're referring to sidewalks, these specs we gave you were for sidewalk areas, the sidewalk are to be permeable.
Right.
Walkways.
Walkways.
Not sidewalks.
They're not sidewalks, they're the walkways to the homes.
Oh, front doors.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right, yes.
And you understand,
And which lots? Are we talking about every lot?
We're talking about several lots at the moment. I mean, the latest one, lot 16. That lot 16,
I think if we're going to approve it, we should have the full list of lots to which it applies, or we should apply it to all lots.
I want to apply the detail to all lots because all of them are coming in very close.
Okay, then let's do that. Instead of several lots, let's say all lots.
and Paul, you do understand that these homeowners won't be able to put in swimming pools.
Put that in, I didn't catch the end of it.
These homeowners, because of you've maxed out your impervious area, there's no room for a swimming pool. Will they be made aware of this?
I'll certainly pass that on to the owners.
They'll love
I
it.
think that needs to be in the O&M plan.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Right?
right.
It needs to be clearly spelled out in sort of the the preamble intro to the O&M plan, right? So.
All right.
You have a new.
You know, what I'll do is send them an email in the morning to let them know that if they exceed the allowable amount of impervious area, that they won't be able to install the swimming pool. Because under the stormwater,
I think by definition that's the case, right? In other words, you can't even comply without permeable walkways, so by definition the case is no lot will be able to install a swimming pool.
Sherry, do we have somebody on?
Have a new caller, and they might, I don't know if they have comments for this project or if they have comments for another project that we've already discussed, unfortunately.
Let's see.
Might want to ask.
All right, are there any questions about this, please?
No, maybe we should modify the letter
I was just,
to incorporate that concept.
yes.
There's no significant impervious modifications that can be made to the property after this standing lot.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone from the public wants to comment?
They all have their mics open, so.
All right. Okay. So, Karen, next step?
So you have a motion. I will revise the letter and send the letter out to the board members before the whole approval letter goes out.
All right.
I move to accept Gregory J. Tanzi's request on behalf of Paul Sheridan and Don Gillespie as managers of 90 Ann Vinyl LLC for the allowance of permeable pavement for walks to be used at the Curtis Estates Flexible Open Space Development approved by the board on 2/8/2018 and endorsed on 4/12/2018. Permeable pavement shall be in accordance with the attached detail and letter from Ross Engineering as amended and per the letter from the planning board chair dated 7/23/20 attached.
Let's not put a date on the planning board chair letter, just because
Okay.
I don't, we have to revise it.
Okay, the letter from Ross Engineering, per the letter from the planning board. Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Yes.
Ms. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis? Aye. Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Unanimous, all in favor?
All right, that's done. Now the design changes for Lot 11. Karen?
I flagged this Lot 11 for the board after our discussion on the antique house. So I didn't feel comfortable signing off on the building permit because to me, the house was different from the house on the subdivision plan. Knowing that you do allow some changes, this one was stretched out across the whole lot and has a turnaround for the parking. So I thought that the board should at least comment on it before I signed off on any building permit.
Where are they with their impervious soil?
They're going to be tight. They're going to need, they will need permeable pavement on this for the walk.
All right. Steve?
The thing I could not decipher was the relocation of the house. Looks like it will require modifications to the grading, but we didn't see any of those on what was submitted. So I guess I'd like to understand that.
Paul?
Okay, what did you think, does that change this one? You mentioned modification.
Yeah, you're putting a different house in a different location here. And the comment that we got said that there was no change to the grading. And I don't see any of that sort of demonstrated on what was submitted. It looks like it was just an overlay.
Okay, the plan, I submitted a plan in July 15th, 2020. Is that the one you're looking at? the plot plan for number 9 Highland Carriage House Way. What I show on there is the approved house, the dotted line, and then the proposed house in the solid line. What they've done, the front line of that house is in the same location as the front line of the house on the approved subdivision plan. What they've done essentially is to take the addition that was to the rear of the house, they put it on the right side of the house. There's an increase of about 300 square feet in the overall footprint of the house. But the footprint of that house is around, I think it's around 2,500 square feet. About 2,400 square feet. That's in line with some of the other homes that have already been built there. The grading is not changing. The grading that's shown on that plan is the same grading that's on the approved subdivision plan. Basically what they're doing is taking the addition in the rear and they're putting it on the right side of the house. And the setback from the street is the same. That driveway is about 143 feet back from the street on both the approved plan and the proposed plan. There's no change in the grading. They're just under the allowed impervious area that's shown on the approved subdivision plan. And having said that, there is no change or impact on the stormwater system design of the subdivision plan. So again, the only difference here is the addition on the back design on the right side.
Well, wait a minute. Paul, did you just say that the front of the building is the same as the original design?
No, what I'm saying is that the front line of that house is set back from the street the same distance as the house shown on the approved subdivision plan. And what they've done is on that plan I referred to, the dotted line shows an addition in the back of the house that was on the approved plan. What they're doing is they're not building an addition behind the house, they're going to put it on the right side.
No.
There's no change in the grading. They do not exceed the allowable impervious area. And based upon those two items, there's no change in the stormwater design system.
Open Kennedy's driveway.
They do have a buyer for the house, and apparently they chose to, they chose to put the addition on the right side as opposed to the back of the house. That's the green area.
I don't want another Blanchard Farms. I don't want another Blanchard Farms.
I shared my screen with you. This is the document I'm looking at. Is this the document we're talking about?
Thursday.
Okay. So this is the modified house right here, in the sort of the orange.
The orange is not being built. That's what's on the approved plan.
Okay.
The house, it's on the right side as you look at it from the street, where your arrow is, where it says the proposed one. That's
this green block is what you're proposing to build.
right. Now, if you look at the top of the green, can you move the arrow up to the garage? You have that area where you can see the dash line in the front of that, and there's one of those dash lines, that represents the outline of the house on the approved plan. So the garage is still in that area. The difference is that orange area is not being built where you see it on this plan. Instead, it's the right side of the house is going to be built where we show it on the plan. Rather than have the addition off the back of the house, they're putting it on the right side. That's the only change.
Okay, and so these contour lines that we see, and the elevation of the proposed garage slab, et cetera, have not changed.
No, those elevations are from the approved subdivision plan. And we don't need to change those.
And these contour lines that we show here are those are the finished grades.
That's correct.
These are all finished grades.
Right, but you got a solid line, those are the proposed finished grades.
Karen?
I think I see it as the house is moved closer to the front property line along the curve. But that's me.
You're right.
Once the addition went on the right side of the house, it is closer to the curve, but the setback is 15 feet, which is required, and we're proposing 19 feet. I mean, the reason it's closer is because the addition's on the right side of the house now, as opposed to where it was on the original plan. That's why it's closer to the curve. It's still within the setback, or the required setback of 15 feet.
You've got 19 feet here.
This proposed required is 15, so it's actually 4 feet further back than required. The side yard setbacks are 15 feet on this plan, and we're proposing 19 to the right front corner on that curve there that Karen is referring to. The bottom line is the house complies to all the setback requirements. It's just under the allowable impervious area, and there's no change in the grading on the site. There's no change in the stormwater system that was approved by the board.
The other change is that there's a turnaround on this, which is close to Lot 10 property. That was not there before, and I wanted the board to see that, as we had issues on other projects related to headlights, etc. So that's why I wanted the board to see this.
So, just so I'm clear, Karen, it's sort of this area here you're talking about?
Yes.
This has been added?
Yes, that was added.
Yes, that's a pervious area, so when the cars back out of the driveway, when they back out of the garage, they can back into that small area and drive straight out to the street. So rather than back out 140 feet to the street, they can turn left in the driveway and drive straight out.
So that's going to be pervious. What's it going to be made out of?
Yeah, where's the detail for that?
You're already at the maximum practically with your impervious area. Is it going to be pervious pavement? Because I'd see that as... It is or it isn't?
No, we show the area as being pervious. It has to be pervious, otherwise they go over there.
And what's going to prevent them from paving it?
So where's the detail for this construction then? That wasn't approved before, so what's going on there?
Well, in the approval sheet, there are a certain amount of impervious area. See, that's pervious. You have to pay it to be pervious. We don't have a detail for that turnaround, but the sub-base of that could be one of two things. It could be similar to what's under the sidewalk, or it can be similar to what we've done in some other driveways where we had the...
I don't think that's good enough. If you have a specific proposal that demonstrates the permeability of that particular area. And I think that's what we need to have, and that's what would have to be incorporated into this. If we approved it, would have to be incorporated here. It's not, we could do one of 2 or 3 things, right?
Well, we haven't designed the subbase for that yet, but it'd probably be similar to what we've done on some other driveway areas. One thing that comes to mind, putting in a geogrid, you basically have some gravel below it, and then you put in a concrete box with a bit of grass growing up between it. That's one option. There's 2 or 3 other options that we could use, but no.
Okay. Well, then come back to us when you decide which option you want to use, and we know what the stormwater performance of that pervious area will be.
Well, number one, it has to be pervious, Steve, so being pervious, it wouldn't have any impact on a stormwater management system, because it'd be infiltrating.
I mean, have to design it and demonstrate that it's permeable, right? So that's all.
So we will do that. The reason this is on the agenda is because the owner of the property wants to get going on the house, so a homeowner can move into it by year's end. And they
That's
also
fine, and we will remove that turnaround and just discuss this relocation of the property.
Here's my question. Is there any reason why the board wouldn't allow Karen to sign off on the building permit? As long as we get that to her prior to the framing of the house? What they like to do is to put the foundation in. In the meantime, we can get that to her prior to the framing of the house.
Karen?
I'm not prepared to, myself, I'm not prepared to approve this turnaround as a new addition here without the construction details that go with it.
What I'm saying, Steve, is that turnaround has to be pervious, period. And there's
You know what, you know something, hang on a minute,
It
Paul.
doesn't have to exist at all.
Right.
So
Paul,
what I'm saying is, you're asking for a change here that is different. I mean, before it was just, we're moving a house. Now we're adding a turnaround as well. So, you know, decide what you want, right? If you want the turnaround, then we want the construction detail of that turnaround, and we want to confirm that it has the right permeability.
yeah,
if I can fit, if for some reason we can't demonstrate to the board that would be a pervious turnaround, then they can't build it, period. All I'm suggesting is, let them put the foundation in. And,
no,
and
you know what, enough of this, enough, Paul. How long would it take you to give us the necessary information on what this pervious turnaround would look like? How long would that take?
Could provide next week.
Then fine.
They could use this one that
Use what you're using on your homeowner's sidewalks. You already have it, for heaven's sakes. You can do it, and, you know, Karen,
Does it support the weight of the vehicle?
Oh, obviously it would.
Yes. Karen, do we have 2 minutes to hold this in abeyance until the 13th?
We can put it on the 13th, yeah, we can put it on the 13th.
We'll put it on, Paul, on the 13th, and you have all your ducks in a row. We're not going to issue a building permit on this until we know exactly what you are doing.
And with the other option, if the owner wants to do it, is to simply to take the thing off, and we take it off, and the building permit can be issued. I'm only saying that because they really want to get started on the house, so the client can move in by year's end.
If they take it off and show us that it's taken off, and you're not going to put it on at the end, it either comes off or you come in. It's your choice.
I mean, if they choose to leave it on because the buyers want it there, Is there any reason why the board couldn't approve it, subject to us getting the information into Karen? And, rather than wait until, I think it's August 13th, said?
That's the next meeting.
You're going to build there anyway, so no reason you can't give us the details ahead of time, right?
We're tired of the dance, Paul. We truly are tired of this dance.
I'm just trying to find a way to accommodate the foundation section while we...
Well, you need a foundation over there, right? So that's neither here nor there, right?
I don't see why we couldn't submit that to you next, and at the same time allow them to do the foundation permit only.
Karen?
I mean, it has to be pervious, period.
No, but we're taking it off. When you decide you want to permit it, come back with the details, right?
In the meantime, you sign off on the building permit? Is there what you suggest, Steve? Or if it isn't, I have no problem with it.
As long as we're certain that there's no grading changes, there's no stormwater impacts for the building, then I would be okay with it, right? But the addition of this turnaround, which was never communicated, and is now sort of thrown in, if you want that, then provide the details that go with it, right? And that would have to be a separate discussion.
Okay, and in the meantime, would the board allow Karen to sign off on the building permit?
As long as
With the turnaround on.
you have to take the turnaround off in order for her to sign off on this.
Okay.
And then you can come back in again with your, whatever it is that you need to show us at a later date.
Okay, all right, so what I'll do is, I'll submit a plan to Karen with that off, and then you'll allow her to...
Move all of this, right?
And we'll come back in with the specs for that, for the previous turnaround.
At the time, we would want to make sure we got the full calculation of impervious versus pervious here too.
Okay. That's great.
Full calculation.
You are.
Full calculation so we can understand the areas.
What's that?
We want a full calculation with the areas visible on the plan so we know how it was calculated.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move forward. You will submit a plan without the turnaround to Karen, and then she will sign off on the building permit. Then you have to come back to us with the design and all the particulars of the turnaround for us to approve, along with the necessary calculations of impervious versus pervious stuff. All right.
Does these also have things like we were talking about before? Generators, air conditioners, those kinds of spaces as well?
Yeah, I'll
Put those on the plan as well.
Okay, let's move forward. Patty?
I don't have anything for this.
I don't have anything. We don't have anything?
I didn't make a motion. I didn't know what to make, so, I mean...
I'll make a motion. I move that we allow the town planner to sign off on the building permit as long as the turnaround on the driveway is removed from the plan. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Just to clarify, that means that the applicant will remove it from the plan and resubmit it to Karen so that she can sign off on it.
Yes.
Got it.
All those in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Aye.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis is not voting on this. Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you. That was like...
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Oh, Paul, would you see if you can do something with the top of the septic system? Because it looks terrible. It's all weeds.
I didn't get that in.
The top of the septic system is all weeds.
Oh, I'll let them know. We are involved in the system. More engineering today, but I'll certainly pass that on to Paul and let him know.
All right. Okay.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, now we have approved minutes.
Okay, I move to approve the meeting minutes for June 25th, 2020 and July 9th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Aye.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis? Aye. Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Unanimous, all in favor?
Accounting?
No accounting.
Okay. All right, bond release for 50 Country Way?
So I have spent considerable amount of time working with 50 Country Way, and I've held out so that we get those supports for the balconies and the shutters in, and they're finally done, and they really make the building. The site contractor, McDougall Brothers, pulled the bond for this project, and since all the site work is done, I think it's time to return the bond. I'm working on there's a few minor things that need to be done out there that the applicant's agent, the one who's leasing all the units, I went over the landscape the other day with him, and I quite frankly told him that the maintenance of the landscaping was pretty pitiful. They needed to start improving the maintenance out there. And so I'm coming up with a list. I'm sending him the O&M plan because I'm not sure they have the O&M plan. I just got in the mail yesterday or the day before, very recently, they did the traffic counts to show that it's basically the numbers they assumed in the traffic study are what is happening. Of course, it's a little distorted due to, COVID, but, and I'm just asking them to just verify that the backup motion for the garbage trucks has all been considered. But I think the project is generally done, and I'd like to return the bond.
Discussion? Steve?
No, it sounds okay to me.
Okay. You're the only one on the board that was here when that happened. Okay. I have no comment. Anybody else?
Oh, they did a nice job. For a while, but they did a nice job.
There you go. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I have to read the... I move to release the bond for 50 Country Way in the amount of $587,000 to McDougall Brothers as all the site work has been completed, and there are minor items the town planner is working on with the developer's representative.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Aye.
Ms. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis? Aye. Mr. Pritchard?
Aye.
Unanimous, all in favor, thank you.
Okay, the next item is the master plan discussion. Ben?
So obviously with the COVID state of emergency and just everything going on in people's lives, we've kind of tabled the master plan for a while, but we were kind of going full steam ahead before everything happened, before Brad left and then COVID. So we're currently at the point where the consultant is working on the draft report. They are trying to work with some other boards and committees in towns that also have related endeavors, such as the Housing Production Plan, Coastal Resiliency, Harbor Master Plan, things like that. So they're trying to help kind of piece together a timeline that everything can be all built upon the work that others are doing. And we, as a board and a master plan committee, would be going into our, before all this happened, we were going into our final public workshop. So we've just been in a holding pattern. So Sherry, Karen, and myself had a check-in call with the consulting team at Harriman the other day to just kind of see where we're at and how we can move things forward. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board and get a poll from everyone how they're feeling. What they propose is that they've had success in other communities doing remote participation and things of that sort. And in some instances, they actually say they get much better turnout and much more data when they can do it remotely, because then people don't actually have to attend an in-person workshop or something, which is sometimes harder for working folks, people with kids, elderly, etc. So what they're proposing is that maybe we all talked about this too, that maybe the timing would be right to shoot for like a public sort of workshop towards the end of September. I think, did they say the 24th or?
Yeah, the week of like September 21st.
Yeah, the week of like that time, like third week of September might be a good time, because with the uncertainty of what's going to go on when school kicks up, we don't want to do it really until people are in a groove with what's going on with school, and they felt that would be a good time to get going, and that would put us that would lead us to have a master plan advisory committee meeting a couple weeks prior, so in the end of August, to kind of touch base on what the game plan is for the public workshop and what are the holes that are missing and kind of what we want to do going forward. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention on that we're feels like we're ready to kind of get started again, but I just want to see how you all felt and whether you think the timing is right, or do people feel that we should maybe kind of hold out a little bit longer and do a little more planning.
Patty?
Are you considering this to be like a virtual meeting, or is it in person?
I think the details of that,
In person.
Virtual.
yeah, the details of how it would work would be forthcoming, but the idea now would be that, unless there's some miracle that happens, it would be a virtual meeting, and the consultant would give us details on how that would all work. They had talked about even doing meetings within virtual meetings with breakout groups and things of that nature, but that would be all on them to figure out how that works.
Yeah. I think that would be, I think you could get some participation there, particularly if we were able to sort of orchestrate, a virtual meeting that provided people, that people could see things, right? That we had a way of, if there are presentation materials and information, that is something that everybody could see. It's really hard to do it when 4 or 5 people are sitting in a room and somebody's pointing at something and you can't see it.
Yeah, for sure.
They would have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would do
Yeah.
that. They said they would be the facilitators for all that.
Yep.
Zoom or whatever the thing, the
Right.
platform is.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, maybe now that you brought that up, I mean, obviously we have to keep our budget in mind too, because they're billable. We're working with a consultant, but I wonder if we could do a little bit of like almost a dry run with the advisory committee or something, just to make sure we like the way it's presented and that we know it's going to work. But we'll
I think that's a good idea.
yeah.
Excellent idea. Okay. So we'll do that in the end of August, you think?
The advisory committee meeting will likely be held towards the end of August. We'll want it to be, a couple to a few weeks ahead of the final public workshop. And then I think once it sounds like there's a little communication that needs to happen with some of the other initiatives that are going on that aren't necessarily in our group, but in the, the coastal folks and the housing.
Right, he was going to try to get me some information so I could get that to her He's checking with his people
Right.
on that. But, I mean, I think with the advisory committee meeting, she'd have to project stuff, so I think it would address, we'd have to figure it out for the advisory committee meeting in order for the virtual public meeting.
Right.
So that would address Steve's point.
Okay.
All right, sounds like a plan. The master plan.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay. All right, liaison reports. Has anybody been going to anything?
I missed a couple, unfortunately.
Okay.
I don't know, I've been listening. Lots of activity around town.
Oh, yeah. CPC met, and we're going to fund an antique fire engine that dates back to 1929.
What did I do with that?
They're going to park it in, the Paul Young's showroom down there on First Parish Road.
They can make a field trip then.
Right, so people can see it. So, anyway. So, I have.
Is this the fire engine that the man restored himself?
No, they're in the process of restoring it. Okay. That's about all I have right now. Okay, Rebecca, are you gonna go to the housing partnership stuff? Have you read the housing partnership plan? All 151 pages of it? Holy moly.
What really interesting about that plan is that the school committee keeps pushing for new schools, and it tells us we're not gonna have any kids.
Steve or Ben, do you want to review the draft housing production plan?
I'll take a look at it.
Steve,
If you need somebody to review it, I'll look at it.
okay, then I'll send you a draft. The hope is that,
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
the hope is that the Affordable Housing Trust is having a meeting with the consultant on August 19th. So any comments that we would like to make will be better if we could get them so that they could incorporate them in that meeting. I'll send you it tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, there was a.
And have we looked at the coastal vision plan? Is there anything we need to do there? Noticed that they had it.
He's kind of thinking that they're in like their final stages. It's going to be presented to the selectmen sometime in September, I believe. He's trying to get permission to get a draft so I can send it to the master plan consultant, because the recommendations from the housing production plan and the 50-year coastal and the other coastal all are going to be incorporated in the master plan. I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
It might be good. I mean, I know our schedule's so busy that if Kyle could come give an update to this board about, I don't know.
It looked like they had. At some point, they had said they needed comments by mid-July, but I didn't really pick up the email until after mid-July, so.
Well, I can try to see if Kyle would give us an update of that at our next meeting, if that's what the board would like.
Yeah, I just found the documents, I'll look at it, but I think it seems like from a master plan point of view, we ought to make sure this gets integrated in, and if we need to provide any input, we should do that, right? Or at least know where they're headed.
Right. Okay. All right. Planning and development.
All right, so then that brings us to the question of we also tabled North Scituate zoning, because there was just with COVID, and there was too much going on. What's the interest in pursuing that for a fall town meeting, or do we want to try to push it off till spring?
I think it should be pushed off to the spring. There's too much going on.
Yeah, I almost want to know what fall town meeting might look like
Right.
before we tackle a big zoning change.
Yep.
but-
I've heard that fall town meeting is probably going to be in November. It has to be after the elections in November, because they would have had to basically open and close the warrant very soon if we're going to be an October town meeting, but all the elections make it difficult this year.
I agree. I mean, I think we have to wait to see what shakes out.
Let's wait. Karen, what else?
We remain very busy. You know, we have, we'll have another new special permit at our meeting in late August, but we remain very busy. Toll Brothers construction is proceeding, and we still have stormwater permits and all that kind of stuff that's ongoing as well. So last time I knew, the Drew was planning on starting late summer, early fall. So things are moving along.
I think the sewer down on Cedar Point is going to start soon.
Sewer on Cedar Point is, they awarded a contract, I
Right.
believe.
Yep. So that's going to be truly disruptive.
Probably in the next month.
Yep.
What do you think about this, well 18B, sort of permanent residual waste pit or whatever they're proposing?
Quite honestly, I forgot about that one. I forgot about that. So I will ask about that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Karen?
That's all I have.
Any other comments from the board? All right, thank you all. And we'll see you on the 13th, if not before. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Ms. Burbine?
Aye.
Mr. Bornstein?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis? Aye. Mr. Pritchard? Thank you.
Thank you.